All right, guys. So we had an election in Iran the other day. I'm a few days late to this, but I think it's important, and I wanted to share it with you here. So we had an election in Iran. Remember, the previous president died in a helicopter crash. He was a hardliner. So he was going to be more standoffish across the board. He was going to be more in favor of the Revolutionary Guard and the Grand Ayatollah. And so he was not like the previous president, Hassan Rouhani. Rouhani was more of a moderate. It was under Rouhani that we got the Iranian nuclear agreement. And unfortunately, the U.S. sort of gave a boost to the hardliners in Iran because we made the moderates look stupid because they agreed to a deal with us. We violated the deal. We slapped them across the face. We murdered Qasem Soleimani. Trump murdered Qasem Soleimani. And so, you know, the moderates look kind of stupid. And the hardliners were like, I told you, you can never deal with the United States of America. They're liars. They're the great Satan, right? And so it looked like basically a new hardliner era was ushered in. That's what it looked like with, what was his name, Raisi? Yeah, Ibrahim Raisi. And that's a shame because, you know, right-wingers beget more right-wingers. Neocons beget more neocons. Warmongers beget more warmongers, right? If one side is going to be obstinate, the other side is going to respond by being obstinate. What you need is people who are willing to talk and negotiate and use diplomacy on both sides. That's how you get us out of a mess. That's how you de-escalate and get us out of war. So they had elections, and guess what, man? Shock victory, yet again, for the left candidate, the relatively left candidate, progressive relative to the context of Iranian elite politics, right? So, guys, we've been seeing this now in a number of elections. It happened in Mexico. They went with the left candidate. It happened in the UK. They went with the Labour Party over the Conservatives. The Labour Party's not really left, but they're better than Conservatives, right? It happened in France. The far left coalition beat the far right. We're now seeing this in a number of different places. There's a bit of, seems like a rising tide of common sense that's taking over. So in Iran, no different, man. No different. So Masoud Pezeshkian is now going to be the Iranian president. Let's watch this little video here, and I'll break it down for everybody. I'll read the text that's on the screen for people who are just listening audio podcast style, and you'll learn a little bit about this guy. Iran has elected a new president, Masoud Pezeshkian. The 69-year-old was the sole moderate candidate permitted to run. Oh, would you look at that? The only one, and he won. He says, I consider your vote as a heavy responsibility on my shoulders, and I pledge to continue to be a listening ear for your words and a voice for the voiceless and rejected. He has promised more liberties, social justice, and equal rights. For 40 years, we have wanted to fix the issue of the hijab. This is him giving a speech. Or whatever the government men want. With respect to women. In all honesty, have we fixed it or made it worse? Worse. I promise our daughters, sisters, and mothers who are subject to unfair treatment on the streets that I will put a stop to all of that unfair behavior. So he's coming out against the morality police here. Pezeshkian acknowledges he faces an uphill battle in a conservative parliament. I'm telling all those who didn't vote or turn out in this election, now it's time to see you and hear you. Pezeshkian is close to Iran's former foreign minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif. He helped with the Iranian nuclear deal. He supports diplomatic engagement with the U.S. to resume nuclear talks and has pledged to get Western sanctions removed. We must break this dam of sanctions. We must ruin those who benefit from sanctions. Those who benefit in the thousands of billions. He's going against the elites in Iran from these sanctions, and nobody knows. We will stand against them. Pezeshkian is an Iranian Azeri Kurd from West Azerbaijan province. He served as a doctor and medical supervisor during the Iran-Iraq War. In 1993, his wife and youngest son were killed in a car accident. That's not unlike Biden. Pezeshkian never remarried and raised his 3 other children alone. He was health minister in Khatami's reformist government and then a parliamentarian. Khatami was a relatively left candidate. He has emphasized his loyalty to Iran's revolution, because you have to in order to run, and will try to reassure Iran's elites that he won't disrupt the system. Look, the system is rigged in the sense that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the Grand Ayatollah, They literally like give the options and say this person can run, this person can't run. So he was one of the pre-approved candidates because they're all pre-approved candidates, right? But relative to everybody else, he was by far the most liberal, by far the most moderate, by far the most willing to engage in peace talks, by far the most willing to secularize Iran in a slow but sure kind of fashion. You know, there's only so far you can go without, you know, the religious leaders sort of revolting, right? But on paper, by far the best candidate. Now, here is the devastating reality, though. The way things are going right now, Trump is a 70% favorite to get reelected in this country. And if this guy is the president of Iran, tries to open diplomatic negotiations, he's going to run into a fucking brick wall. Going to run into a brick wall. Now, understand the Democrats have not been good, certainly under Biden, when it comes to this issue. They have not been good. But Trump is worse. He's the guy who ripped up the Iranian nuclear agreement. He's the guy who smacked Iran across the face and spit in their eye and said, I know you've been following this agreement. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to violate the agreement. I'm going to rip it up. I'm going to put more sanctions on you. I'm going to assassinate Qasem Soleimani, who was on the ground fighting ISIS at the time. And so Trump packed his administration with neocons. John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, Gina Haspel, and they did neocon shit. They did warmonger shit. And so now, if he gets back in there, there's no reason to believe it would be any different at all. So I feel horrible for this guy, because in all good faith, he can come out and try to make a new deal and try to get us back from the brink of war, and he's probably going to hit a fucking brick wall if Trump is in there. I mean, it'd be hard enough with Biden in there, because Biden said when he ran, I'm going to get us back in the Iranian nuclear agreement, and he didn't do it. So it's hard enough with Biden. But Trump, without a doubt, is going to be even worse, and it would be even harder to make a new deal. Honestly, this was one of the best things Obama did, was the Iranian nuclear agreement, by far. And then fucking Trump fucked it up, and Biden the idiot came in and said he would get back in and didn't. And so now, look, I just hope, again, that the moderates don't end up looking dumb and it doesn't lead to a rise in the far right again. You know? So take yes for a fucking answer. If people want to make peace, people want to make a deal. For the love of God, make peace, make a deal. And I'm genuinely shocked that a moderate won in this day and age, because we know the tensions right now with Israel. We know Israel wants to go to war with Hezbollah in Lebanon. We know what they're doing to Hamas right now. We know there's been tit-for-tat fights with Iran. You guys remember all that happened recently? My guess would have been they would circle the wagons, break out the flags, and say, fuck it. If you guys are going to be psycho right-wingers, we're going to elect our own insane psycho right-wingers to combat you. Right? But that didn't happen. So massive, massive credit to the people of Iran, man. Massive credit to them. No matter how much they've, been tricked and deceived and screwed over by the West, people are just desperate for peace. They're desperate for peace, man. And they're trying so hard to get it. So I hope it's not in vain. I hope we can get some reasonable leaders here and we can get back to sanity and we can make another deal with them. They're not Iran is not the fucking problem. They've never been the problem. They've never been the fucking problem. To the extent anybody prioritizes, we have to end radical Islamic extremism. Well, motherfucker, Saudi Arabia is the worst. They're the Salafists. They're the Wahhabists. They're the ones with the extremist mosques that preach hate. They're the problem. Iran is a relatively young country, and the attitudes are relatively secular. They just have an ancient fucking government of fossils that are Shia clerics and extremists, right? They're not the problem. Shia jihad is not a thing that's happening now. It's always the extremist Sunnis that are doing it. That's Saudi Arabia. So anyway, there you have it. Yet again, just like we talked about the good news in the French election the other day, this is good news coming out of Iran. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.